The radio crackled again. Ethan sighed and rolled his eyes. Another broken frequency. Another useless sound. He leaned back in his old chair, inside his dusty garage on the edge of town. The lights above flickered. The smell of engine oil and metal filled the room. His workbench was cluttered with wires, old transmitters, and scraps of junk tech he collected from scrapyards. Ethan was a man who didn't like noise. Not from people, not from the city, and definitely not from a broken satellite. Radio? But tonight, something felt different. He reached forward and turned the dial slightly. CRK-ZZZZT-KKKTT-KKKT-she-. Then it came. A sound. Faint, broken, hidden under layers of static. LP. Ethan froze. That didn't sound. Like a glitch, he leaned closer, twisting the dial again. The voice was soft, weak, but it was there. Please. One. Is this a distress signal? He muttered to himself. He activated the audio recorder. The signal was jumping. Between strange tones like a language he didn't recognize. But then, the voice returned. This time, clearer. Help me. Ethan sat up straighter. It was a girl's voice. Young, shaking. Not from Earth. He wasn't crazy. He knew that voice didn't belong to any human frequency. It wasn't military. It wasn't coded. It sounded desperate. He replayed it again. Earth, plea, say. A cold chill crept up his spine. No one else would have caught it. Most would think it was random space junk radio echoes from dying probes or debris satellites. But Ethan had heard plenty of those in his days. This wasn't one of them. This was alive. He grabbed his old signal tracer and locked the frequency. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat far away in space. The signal wasn't coming from orbit. It was coming from somewhere on Earth, and not far by midnight. Ethan was already driving. He threw some emergency tools and supplies in the back of his rusted pickup, along with a pistol just in case. He followed the signal across winding dirt roads and through deep woods. No lights, no sounds. Only the hum of the tracker growing louder with every mile. Eventually, his vehicle stopped. The tracker beeped wildly. He turned off the engine. Silence. A cold wind blew through the trees. He grabbed his flashlight and followed. The beeps, bushes, mud, dead leaves under his boots. Then he saw it, a metal object, half buried in the ground. Burnt, scarred, it had crashed hard. Smoke still rose from one side. The design wasn't Earth-made. The outer shell shimmered under the moonlight. And strange symbols glowed dimly on the surface. An escape pod. Ethan's heart pounded. He approached slowly, careful with each step. The side of the pod had cracked open, and inside, someone moved. He pointed the flashlight in. It was her. A girl no older than 20 by human looks. Her skin was a soft pale blue, and her hair was silver, tangled with wires. Her body was curled. In pain, thin, and bruised. She wore something like a torn flight suit, and her arm was bleeding. She blinked. Barely her eyes were glowing dimly to orbs of soft, violet light. And then, she looked at him. Not with fear, but with hope. "You heard me?" she whispered. Voice cracking. Ethan didn't speak. He couldn't. Don't do. In that one moment, 100 thoughts ran through his mind. Was she dangerous? Was this a trap? Should he call someone? But when he looked at her again, he saw something else. Not a threat. A child. A lost soul who had traveled galaxies. And risked everything. For someone to hear her cry, and only he had heard it. He stepped forward, his voice low but steady. "I got you," he said. "You're safe now." She passed out. Ethan reached in, lifted her gently, and carried her toward his truck. The wind blew harder now, and in the sky above, clouds shifted like silent eyes. Somewhere, Something else had heard the signal too, but they weren't coming to help. They were coming to take her back. Asterisk. Ethan slammed the door of his truck and drove off. Tires tearing through the mud. The alien girl lay unconscious on the back seat, her skin cold to the touch, her breathing shallow. He kept glancing at her in the mirror. Her blue skin shimmered slightly under the moonlight, like frost kissed by starlight. This wasn't a dream. This was real. He was driving home with an alien girl in his truck. Back at his workshop, he cleared the old workbench and gently laid her down. The smell of engine grease filled the air. He didn't know if she could breathe Earth's air safely for long, but she was still alive for now. Ethan ran his fingers through his short hair and whispered, "What the hell have you gotten yourself into, man?" He cleaned the wounds on her arms using water and basic antiseptic. Her blood wasn't red. It was glowing silver, like liquid light. He froze. He had never seen anything like that. But he didn't panic. Something inside him told him not to treat her like a thing, not like a specimen. She needed help. That's all that mattered. She stirred. Her lips moved, weak and dry. "Air is heavy, but I can breathe." Ethan blinked. She spoke English, barely, but enough. "You're safe," he said softly. "You crash-landed. I found you. I brought you here." She opened her glowing eyes, blinking slowly. "You heard me, yes, on the radio." She looked around. Her breathing was shallow, but steady. "They'll come." "Who?" Her lips trembled. "Hunters." The next morning, Ethan returned to the crash site. He had to be careful. If the authorities or anyone found the escape pod, they'd take her, study her, lock her away. Or worse, he parked deep in the woods and covered the pod with branches, mud, and a large weather tarp. He wiped his tracks and checked his surroundings. No one had been there, not yet, but something about the air felt tense, still, like something was watching. He turned and headed back. Meanwhile, the girl had managed to sit up. She was wearing one of Ethan's old jackets, far too big for her. Her silver hair spilled over her shoulders. Her violet eyes followed every sound in the garage. Ethan offered her water and a protein bar. She sniffed it first, then bit slowly. Her body trembled. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Saray." He nodded. "I'm Ethan." She studied his face. "You are not afraid of me. I've seen enough strange things in life. You top the list? Sure, but I'm not afraid." She looked down. "I didn't mean to land here. I just wanted to reach Earth. I didn't think I would survive." "Why Earth?" "Because your world is free." That sentence hit him like a punch. He leaned forward. "Free from what?" Saray closed her eyes. "Chains, experiments, breeding programs. My kind. We were not born to live, only to serve." Her hands clenched the edge of the jacket. Her voice cracked. "I stole the escape pod. I sent out the signal. They told me I would die before making it. But I hoped someone would hear me." Ethan's throat tightened, and he had heard her. Out of billions, he was the one. That night, Ethan powered down the garage and moved her into the small side room behind his shop. It had an old bed, some clean blankets, and a small heater. He didn't ask too many questions. He just made sure she was warm, fed, and safe. But inside, questions burned. Who were the people hunting her? Why had she risked so much to come to Earth? What was going to happen if no? When they came looking? 3 days passed. Saray grew stronger. She began to move around, speaking in broken English. Her voice was soft, but clearer. She was learning fast, but every night, she stared at the stars with fear in her eyes. Ethan finally asked, "What are they, these hunters?" She swallowed. "They are not soldiers. They are collectors. They take what escapes. Slavers. She nodded. They collect living beings for trade. Rare species, escaped experiments. I am both. His hands curled into fists. They know you're here. I damaged the pod's locator, but they might still track it. I don't know how long we have. Ethan looked at her. Then we better start preparing. Preparing for what? To run, he said. They come, we won't be here. She stared at him, confused. Why would you help me? You don't even know. Me. He looked into her glowing eyes. Because no one should cry into space and be ignored. But what neither of them knew was this far above, hidden by clouds, a silent ship had entered Earth's orbit. Its sensors had already picked up something faint, something glowing, something alive. The hunt had begun. Sarai sat by the window, her eyes fixed on the sky. It was her third night on Earth. The stars looked different, here so soft, so free. But she knew the danger was close. Freedom didn't come without a price. Behind her, Ethan placed a hot drink. On the table, tea. I don't know if your kind likes it, but it helps on cold nights. She looked at the steaming cup with curious eyes, then nodded in thanks. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. Then, quietly, she asked, "What happens to someone if they're not supposed to be born?" Ethan looked at her. "Why do you ask?" That she didn't answer right away. Her voice was quiet, broken. Because that was me. Sarai stared at the wall, her hands wrapped around the warm mug like it was the only real thing in the room. I wasn't meant to survive. She said, "My kind are bred in labs, like tools, grown, not born. We're raised to serve the ruling species of my system, the Zenthari. I was made to be a test subject because I was defective." Defective? Ethan asked, confused. She looked down, too emotional. "I cried when I wasn't supposed to. I resisted commands. I showed mercy during training." She shook her head slowly. "They told me that made me useless. I wasn't strong enough to fight or cold enough to obey. So, they marked me." Ethan leaned forward, his voice low. "Marked you how?" Sarai lifted the side of her sleeve there, just under. Her shoulder was a scar burned into her skin. A strange symbol, not decorative. Not tribal. It looked like a brand. Ethan's jaw tightened. "They branded you like cattle." She nodded slowly. "It means discard in their language." For a moment, the room felt heavy with silence. "I escaped when I was told to report for final disposal," she whispered. "It means being broken down, used for spare parts. Organs, nerve tissue, they don't waste anything." Ethan clenched his fists, barely holding in his anger. "They treat you like trash, just because you care." "I begged them to let me live," she said, her voice shaking. "I said I could be useful. I said I'd try harder, but they laughed. I wasn't created for mercy. I wasn't made to think for myself. I was broken." Ethan stood up suddenly. He couldn't sit anymore. He began pacing. "You're not broken," he said. "You're alive. That's all that matters." "But I was never meant to be," she said, with tears in her eyes. "That's the truth. I wasn't allowed to live." He stopped and looked at her, and in that moment, he saw someone not just from another world, but someone painfully human. Someone who had been treated like she didn't matter. Someone whose only crime was having a heart. "You risked everything." He said, "You came here even knowing you might die. That doesn't sound like someone weak to me." Sarai stared at him. "No one has ever said that to me. Then let me be the first." Later that night, Ethan walked outside for air. The stars were bright above the trees, but he couldn't relax. He lit a cigarette. It hung between his lips, forgotten. He thought about everything Sarai had said. About being thrown away like she was nothing. He'd seen it before. Not aliens, but people, kids dumped into orphanages. Soldiers left behind after battles. Refugees turned away at borders. Maybe that's why her voice had cut through the static, because it reminded him of the voices the world always tried to ignore inside. Saray looked at herself in the mirror, the oversized jacket, the scar on her arm, the reflection of a girl who didn't know what she was anymore, but she touched her face gently. "I'm still here," she whispered. "They didn't erase me," and for the first time in her life, she smiled, just a little. But peace never lasts. Hundreds of miles above Earth, the Hunter ship locked onto a faint energy signal. They had found the escape pod wreckage. They scanned the surrounding area. A single energy trace matched the target's genetic code. A small human town. One heartbeat among billions. But it was enough. In the morning, Ethan opened the door to grab supplies. He noticed something strange. His front gate was slightly open. He always locked it. Always he turned slowly and saw a print in the dirt. Too large to be a dog. Too deep to be human. Something had been watching. The morning sky over Ethan's cabin was quiet too. Quiet, no birds, no rustling. Wind, just stillness. The kind of stillness that makes the hairs on your neck stand up. Ethan crouched by the muddy footprint near his gate. It was wide, clawed, and deep. Definitely not human, and not from any earth creature he'd ever seen. His heart sank. They found her. He rushed back inside and slammed the door shut. Saray sat near the window, still studying Earth's trees and birds like a child seeing color for the first time. But the moment she saw Ethan's face, her smile vanished. "They're here," he said. She didn't ask how he knew. She just nodded. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Hours, maybe less." "Can they track us through walls?" "No," she said. "But they have scouts. Small, fast, nearly invisible. They'll be watching." He locked every window, every door. Then he grabbed his old army pack and dumped it on the table. Flashlights, flares, extra batteries, emergency food, maps. Saray stood up slowly. "You don't have to run. I'm not running." "Then what are you doing?" "I'm keeping you alive." High above the clouds, hidden from all satellites, the Hunter ship hovered silently. It didn't blink. Didn't make noise. Simply waited inside, two reptilian beings prepared for landing. Their armor was made from living metal, dark and pulsing. Their eyes glowed red. One of them growled in their language. Target's life signature confirmed. Mission, capture. Alive, if possible. Dead, if not. They stepped in too. The drop pod, it fell from the sky like a silent meteor. No fire, no trail. Just a black dart slicing toward the earth. Back at the garage, Ethan and Saray stuffed supplies into a duffel bag. "You ever use a weapon?" he asked her. She shook her head. "We weren't allowed to fight." He handed her a stun baton. "Time to break the rules." Suddenly, dash click, dot, all the lights in the garage flickered, then died. Total darkness. Ethan froze. Generator didn't fail. He whispered. They shut it down. A low hum vibrated through the walls. Saray's eyes widened. "That's their scanner. They're here." Ethan reached under his workbench and pulled out a hidden pump shotgun. He didn't say a word, just gave her the duffel. "We move. Now." They slipped out the back exit, covered by shadows. The woods behind the cabin were dense, quiet, but not safe. Ethan had a route planned. A service tunnel under the old mining hill, not far from the garage. It hadn't been used in years. But halfway there, Saray grabbed his arm. "Wait," she whispered. Something was ahead, floating in midair, barely visible like a shimmer. Of heat was a small drone, no bigger than a fist, but deadly. Its sensor I turned toward them. ZZZZT. A red laser flashed. They ran. The drone fired, hitting a tree behind them. The bark exploded in sparks. Ethan ducked and rolled, pulling Saray down with him. He fired one shot, boom, and shattered the drone. But it was too late. They know where we are now, Saray said, trembling. They already did, Ethan replied, pulling her back to her feet. Inside the hunter ship, a monitor beeped. Scout down. Target fleeing on foot. Deploy ground team. The ship opened its lower hatch. 3 more drop pods launched silently, like bullets into the night. Ethan and Saray reached the tunnel entrance and slipped inside. The tunnel was damp and cold, filled with echoes of dripping water. Ethan lit a flashlight. Keep moving, he said, but Saray slowed down. I can't keep running, she said, breathing hard. You don't have a choice. I'm slowing you down. Ethan stopped and turned to face her. Look at me. I chose to help you. That means I stay until the end. You got that? She stared at him eyes-wide, lips trembling. Why? Because no one else did, and I'm not like them. For a moment, silence. Then they kept walking. Behind them, the first ground hunter landed outside the tunnel. It sniffed the air and growled. 2 life forms. Inside, its armor morphed, adapting to Earth's oxygen. It pulled a weapon from its back and entered the dark. Back in the tunnel, Ethan stopped. He could hear something. Footsteps, metal against stone. Getting closer, he looked at Saray. Run. Broke into a sprint, flashlight bouncing as they ran through the black tunnel. The hunter's growl echoed behind them. Then dash boom. The wall near them cracked as the hunter fired. Ethan returned fire blindly, slowing it down. The tunnel forked left. Saray shouted. They dove into the left path. Behind them, the hunter's steps slowed. It was toying with them, like a predator enjoying the chase. Finally, they burst out of the far end of the tunnel into a rocky valley under moonlight. They didn't stop, not yet. They kept running into the night, breathless and silent. And behind them, in the dark, the hunter smiled. The game had begun. The wind whipped through the shattered windows of the stolen hover truck as Ethan gripped the wheel. His knuckles were white. Beside him, Saray clutched the edge of the seat, eyes scanning the sky. They had escaped the tunnel, but just barely. The hunter's laser had singed the back of Ethan's jacket. Too close. Too fast now. Every second felt borrowed. They raced through the deadlands, miles of cracked earth and broken machinery, where old human factories once stood. No one lived out here anymore. Ethan had chosen this path for a reason. No people, no signals, no eyes, but even silence had a sound. And tonight, the sky was watching. Back in the hunter ship, the lead tracker snarled. Target has entered human transport. Coordinates locked. Initiating pursuit. A screen flickered with Saray's image taken by the destroyed drone's last snapshot. Her face, her eyes, now burned into the system. A wanted signal broadcasted in hidden frequencies to their buyers. Inside the truck, Saray held Ethan's datapad. The signal was blinking red. They're following us again, she said. Low orbit, they'll send more. Ethan swerved hard, avoiding a fallen pipe in the road. Then we'll keep driving. How long can we run? He didn't answer. She looked down. He could still leave me. Ethan didn't flinch. Not happening, but you don't know what I am, what I carry. He glanced at her. Then tell me. She hesitated, then slowly placed her hand on her stomach. I carry memory. He blinked. Memory? A kind. We don't record with machines. We carry history in our blood. The knowledge of what they did to us. The locations of the labs. The names of the cruel ones. I wasn't just escaping. I was preserving truth. She looked at him, voice shaking. If they capture me, they'll erase it. All of it. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then we'll make sure they don't. Ahead, a bridge loomed half-broken, metal twisted from time. Hang on. Ethan shouted, slamming the accelerator. The truck roared forward, just as they hit the cracked bridge. Something screamed from the sky. A hunter drop-dash pod. It fell fast and struck the road behind them, exploding in a wave of smoke and heat. Metal. Shards flew through the air. Saray screamed as one ripped through the back seat. Ethan spun the wheel hard, barely keeping control. The bridge creaked and groaned. Then, beneath their tires, it collapsed. The truck dropped, hit the other side with a crash and rolled twice before landing in the dust. Silence. Ethan groaned. His head throbbed. His side burned. He looked over. Saray was moving, bleeding but alive. He reached over, grabbed her arm. We have to go, now. They climbed out just as the hunter stepped through the smoke. Glowing eyes scanning the wreck. Ethan fired a flare. It burst bright, blinding the hunter. Run, he shouted. They darted into a nearby ruined old human factory. Its roof caved in, its walls lined with rust and ashdot inside the dark hall. Sarah fell to her knees. I can't, my leg. Ethan turned and picked her up without a word. She blinked, stunned. He carried her deeper inside, placing her down behind a heavy steel door. Then, for the first time, she saw it in his eyes: pain. He had been wounded. His side was soaked in blood. You're hurt. I'm fine, he said. Just bought us 5 minutes. Saray pressed her hand against his wound. Her fingertips glowed faintly. What are you? Let me help, she whispered. It won't heal you, but it will slow the bleeding. Let her warmth pulsed through his side, dulling the pain. Thank you, he muttered. She smiled weakly. I owe you more than that. Suddenly a scream. Not from them. A child. Outside, Ethan's heart dropped. They crept to the broken doorway. Down. Below, through the shattered street, a small girl, maybe 6, was crying near an overturned cart. Her parents were trapped behind wreckage, and the hunter was walking straight toward her. No, Saray whispered. Not the child. Ethan raised his weapon. I'll draw it away. But before he could move, Saray stepped out into the light. No, wait, Saray. Too late, she stood tall, blood on her cheek, arms raised. The hunter froze. She whispered something in her own language, then shouted in English, I am the one you want. Leave them. The hunter turned fully toward her, but before it could fire, Ethan shot it in the side of the head. Boom! The creature staggered. Ethan grabbed Saray and ran back into the factory. Behind them, the child's parents pulled her to safety. An hour later, a grainy cell phone video spread online. The alien girl, glowing eyes, silver hair, saving a child. Her face was blurry, but real. And just like that, Earth noticed. In the shadows, a man in a dark suit ended a phone call and looked up. Find her, he said, before the others do. Asterisk, the world had seen her now, and nothing would ever be the same again. Inside an abandoned barn, deep in the countryside. Ethan stitched his side shut with shaking hands. The wound was deep but not fatal thanks to Saray's glowing touch and some stolen medical gear. Saray sat near a small oil lamp, staring at the flickering flame. Her silver blue skin was streaked with dust and dried blood. Her eyes, soft violet eyes, were far away, like they weren't seeing Earth anymore. Hey, Ethan said gently, tying the last knot in his bandage. You're quiet. She didn't move. I'm always quiet, she said softly. But sometimes my memory gets louder. He walked over and sat beside her. What do you remember? Her voice trembled. A promise. She looked up at the Rafters above them, lost in the shadows. I wasn't the only one who tried to escape, she said. There was another. Ethan leaned in. Someone like you. She nodded. My sister. Her name was Tali. We weren't blood related, no one in the labs was, but we were raised in the same cage. We slept on the same floor. She was smaller than me, always sick, but always smiling. A tear slipped down Sari's cheek. She used to hum songs she didn't even know the words to. Said the notes came from her dreams. Beautiful songs. Sad songs. Ethan watched her silently. One day, the guards came to separate us. Said she wasn't strong enough to survive. Said she was expired. Her hands clenched into fists. I fought back. I bit one of them. Screamed until my throat bled, and they laughed. She whispered. They said I could go to disposal next. Ethan's chest tightened. She told me to run. Said I was the only one who could. Reach Earth. Said maybe if I made it someone would listen. Someone would care. Sarai pulled a small object from her pocket. It was a thin metal chain with a faded charm shaped like a spiral star. Tali made this from scrap wiring, she said. Told me it would remind me why I survived. Ethan stared at the charm for a long time. You came here to tell Earth what happened to you, he said. No, she replied, shaking her head. I came here to make sure she's not forgotten. Outside, a soft beep echoed from Ethan's datapad. He picked it up. A message blinked on the screen. Breaking. Unknown life form saves child, video reaches. 4.2 million views in 1 hour below it. Another line, government responds. No threat confirmed. But situation under investigation. Sarai looked over his shoulder. They'll know it's me, she whispered. The hunters, it's the humans. Everyone. Then we can't stay, Ethan said. Not in barns. Not in shadows. You said there. We're others' labs, locations you carry in memory. If we get you to someone who can help, we can expose everything. She looked unsure. Who would believe me? I think they already do. He turned the screen toward her. Comments flooded the video feed. Some fearful, but most were full of awe. She saved that little girl. Why would an alien do that? Those eyes, she looked scared, not evil. We should protect her, not hunt her. Where is she now? Can we help? For the first time, she smiled through her tears. They heard me. Night fell fast. They prepared for the next move. Ethan pulled out a folded map and pointed to a remote location, a military base he once served near, long since shut down. Underground communications tower still works. We use that to send a secure burst. Hidden frequencies. Government won't notice, but allies might. Allies? She asked. He nodded. Old contacts. People who still care about the truth. Journalists, ex-intel, maybe even off-world sympathizers. She hesitated. If we do this, I can never go back. You were never meant to go back. She looked up at him. Then I'll finish what I started. Far above, the hunter ship hovered once more. Cloaked and silent, the commander watched the viral video, zoomed in on her face. The symbol on her wrist, the spiral star charm in her hand. Rebel, he growled. We were warned about her kind orders, asked his second. The commander hissed, eyes glowing brighter. End this. Publicly, let the humans know what happens when they keep what's not theirs. Down on Earth, Ethan loaded supplies into a stolen van. Before stepping in, he looked at Sarai. You ready? She clutched the spiral charm and nodded. I carry memory, Ethan, but now I carry hope. They drove off into the night, two unlikely fugitives with the weight of a seer. A plea to the weight of a galaxy on their shoulders. The night sky lit up, Not with stars, but with flame. A ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Silent and cloaked, but not unseen. Those with the right eye's military satellites, deep signal trackers, and a few rogue astronomers watched it descend. The hunter vessel was no longer hiding. It was coming to finish the mission, and it didn't care who saw. Ethan's van tore down the old highway, kicking dust into the air behind it. The signal tower was only minutes away, rusted communications bunker buried deep inside a hillside. "We get in, send the burst, and get out," Ethan said, hands tight on the wheel. Beside him, Saray held a small disc, smooth and silver, glowing with soft pulses. "What's on it?" he asked. She looked at him. "Everything," she said. "The locations of the labs, the trafficking routes, the buyers, the names of every species who paid for our pain." Ethan nodded. "If this gets out, they'll have to listen." The bunker. Door creaked open with effort. Dust fell from the ceiling. Old lights flickered weakly as they entered the control room. Wires hung from the walls. Broken monitors. But the central transmitter buried deep still. HUMMED. Ethan began powering it up. Sarah placed the disk on the data core, her hands shaking slightly. "Broadcasting will trigger them," she whispered. "They'll know it's me." "They already do," Ethan said. "Let's finish this." He flipped the final switch. The screen turned blue. Uploading, 1%, ... far above. In the hunter ship, sirens rang. Signal detected. A hunter growled. Broadcasting location traced. Eastern quadrant, Earth continent. The commander slammed. A clawed hand on the console. "Send all units. Destroy the tower. Erase her." Back in the bunker, the upload bar climbed slowly. 12%, ... 29%. For 1%, ... Then a whine. A vibration shook the walls. Saray gasped. "They're here." Ethan pulled his shotgun, checked the shell, and took position at the only door. "You keep uploading," he said. "I'll keep them out." But he turned to her, eyes steady. "You called for help," I answered. "I don't run now." Outside, 3 hunter drop pods slammed into the ground. They walked toward the bunker with cold precision-like machines, made of muscle and rage. One raised its weapon and fired at the wall boom. The bunker shook. Dust fell like rain inside. The signal continued, uploading. 67%, 74%, ... The first hunter breached the door. Ethan fired boom and sent it flying back, sparks flying from its armor. But more were coming. He backed up slowly, blood on his sleeve from a grazing shot. Saray screamed, "We're at 90%. Just a little more." Another hunter leaped forward, this one faster. It tackled Ethan, slamming him into the wall. He groaned in pain. The hunter raised its blade zap. Saray stabbed it with the stun baton. The creature screamed and fell twitching. She grabbed Ethan's arm and pulled him up. He smiled through the blood. "You. Pack a punch." The console beeped. "Upload complete." Signal sent. Saray gasped. We did it, but the joy didn't last. The commander himself entered, now twice the size of the others. Armor rippling with dark energy, his eyes locked on Saray. "Traitor," he hissed. "You fear the truth," she said. "That's why you silence us." "I silence rot." He raised his weapon. Ethan jumped in front of her. "No," the commander snarled. "You are nothing, human. One man cannot stop an empire." Ethan smiled. "Maybe not." A trigger boom. And the ceiling exploded. The old bunker began to collapse. Ethan turned to Saray. "Run, now." Outside, the world was changing. The signal had reached deep space relays, whistleblowers, hackers, underground networks, even rival alien governments. Everyone now had the files, the truth, the hidden war, the stolen children, the experiments, and Sare's face was everywhere. She pulled Ethan from the rubble. Coughing and bleeding, the commander lay crushed under debris, silenced, not by a bullet, but by truth. A small crowd had gathered outside. Locals, a few military. Some press. Guns were raised, but no one fired. The girl from the video was real, and she was no threat. Sare stood tall, holding Ethan upright. "I am not your enemy," she said to the crowd. "But I was hunted like one. I came here with nothing, not even a name that mattered." She looked at Ethan, but one man heard me. One man stood up. Ethan groaned. Two people stood up. The story spread. People rallied. Other survivors came forward, beings from hidden labs across the stars. Protests rose. Leaders demanded answers. The hunter race went silent. Weeks later, as Earth worked to form its first real interstellar rights council, Ethan sat on a bench outside the hospital, arm in a sling. Sare sat beside him. "You changed everything," she said. "No," he replied. "We did." She smiled. "I still hear the static sometimes," she whispered. "But now it carries hope." He looked at her. "Next time someone cries into the stars, they won't be alone." And somewhere far above, in the quiet of space, another signal echoed back, "We hear you."